Let's talk about the reasons that this podcast exists. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm Justin Hitt with ADBRIEFING's Copywriting Tips. I want to share with you the reason and a little bit of the history why ad briefing exists. And if you're a marketer, copywriter, or business development professional, why this is the place for you to get the results that you're looking for. First off, I bought ADBRIEFING's Copywriting Tips in 2008 from Market Hill Publishing, who owned the estate and the intellectual property of Patrick Quinn. Patrick Quinn is a copywriter who is based in the UK, and he's a copywriter for major brands. He's produced a number of how-to books on how to do copywriting, and I had actually read one of his books and found it very useful. Now, I used copywriting in my computer consultancy business. I use copywriting in my consulting in general business. I've used it to write technical documents. I've used it to sell my services. And I found that words are a magic way to influence others and to get a kind of a syndication of value. Now, I've studied Dan Kennedy. I've studied Bob Bly. I've studied even Renee Graham. I've studied all kinds of copywriters, some of which are historic and some are current. But I knew what it was like to study all this copywriting, to use the copywriting and see the benefits of the copywriting, but really struggle to get copywriting assignments. My first copywriting assignment was about $1,250. It was an assignment to create a brochure. I used all my consulting skills to interview the client. I sat down with them to discover what they were trying to accomplish and asked a bunch of questions and gathered source materials and did research to create a brochure. Now, they never used this brochure, and I believe it was a really good brochure. It was for a nonprofit organization on a fundraising campaign, and it was going to go with a cover letter. They had a couple different cover letters, and the brochure really was about telling the story of their organization and what their organization does. Now, I wrote this brochure. I delivered it. I was excited. They were excited. Again, they never used it, but I still got paid. I got paid $1,250 for writing a brochure when I've created hundreds of brochures for my own business. I've created brochures for other people, and nobody ever paid me for those things. I just, the brochure was considered to have a cost to it. 30 cents a brochure. You give it to customers. You include it in a mailing. And so I wrote this group's brochure, and then I did a number of other copywriting assignments, but I struggled getting those first couple assignments. And then once I had consistent income as a business development professional, I shifted my consulting after the dot-com bust to do more business development work, because that's the one thing that worked out well outside of the dot-com world. It was doing technical sales and offering technical solutions after a brief cycle of presenting and selling. But I digress a little bit. The point I'm making here is that I know what it's like to not have consistent income, but have a skill as powerful as copywriting. I had some problems after the dot-com crash, and this was 2000 something. And before I discovered the big players like Dan Kennedy and Gary Halbert and Patrick Quinn, for example, Bob Bly, before I really discovered and used what those folks taught, I did have struggles back and forth. I had struggles getting clients. I had struggles keeping clients. I had struggles growing the business in general. And I had actually gotten to the point where I was sending out 500 letters in my computer consultancy on a monthly basis, and I had a consistent flow of clients, but there were times when the letters just stopped working. Now, in hindsight, I know this is the case. Letters will stop working. If you send a prospect newsletter, you need to send it on a regular basis. If you're going to be, having drip campaigns and sequences, you know what I'm talking about. But when I was selling copywriting services, so I had a computer consultancy, I learned how copywriting worked. I made it work. It worked really good. I started, the computer consultancy failed after the dot-com. People owed me a bunch of money, and I mismanaged a lot of things. So I'm restarting, and I was doing a newsletter about copywriting. I was actually writing copywriting for people, but things got really rough, and I went back out to try to find a job. So I used copywriting to find work. But ultimately, as we move on to maybe 2005, I really hit a stride and I started finding more value in copywriting. I had about 2,000 or 3,000 newsletter subscribers where we talk about copywriting. I was picking up consistent assignments about copywriting. And then the opportunity came along to buy in 2008 the publication Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips. So I rolled everything into Ad Briefings. And I really wanted to take that outside sales experience. I wanted to take that copywriting experience, that business development work, helping companies work on campaigns, and leverage it to help existing copywriters, marketers, and business development professionals get more clients, develop better quality work, so work that is testable. Also to refine my own understanding of the technical marketing, actually understanding the database side, understanding how to measure customer lifetime value, how to measure cost per lead, other metrics and factors. Rennie Graham actually had a book from 1973, I think it is. It's called Direct Mail Workshops. It's either 73 or 80 something. It's too far away on my shelf to reach right now. But he actually showed these charts that I was just fascinated with about how to measure your marketing. Now today I've got books like Database Marketing and Strategic Database Marketing by Arthur Middleton Hughes. That's a really good book. I've got a deep understanding. Ed Bernay has a really good book on the complete direct mailing list. So I'm more on the technical side than I am writing copy for everybody. And like I mentioned in the newsletter, I do get paid very well for writing technical reports, assessments, and audit reports. But again, a lot of the copywriters I ran into, they just wanted to write a brochure for somebody. And sure, I was happy when I wrote my first brochure, but a brochure, it's $1,200. You know, I want 5 figures to do a job, and I want you to get 5 figures to do a job. I also, as I matured in the field of copywriting, marketing, and business development, I also realized that, you know, there are narrative proposals for large projects. I worked on a couple projects. The bids were $25 million. So 5-year, $25 million. These bids are binders, and they actually had narrative descriptions of the deliverables. They had history and background, reason why. There were white papers and technical papers that were used to even get in the door when it came to presentations about aspects that would add on to the project or demonstration of project. I learned about technical writing. And so the typical copywriter today who's struggling, who's not making 6 figures net, who is frustrated, very often that's because all they do is basic copywriting. They don't help with full marketing campaigns. They don't help with the more complex proposals. They aren't going for clients that have like $1 million jobs or $20 million jobs. They're going for the mom and pop onesie twosies. They're not writing for newsletter publishers. Newsletter publishers create content every month. In fact, the original Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips came from Patrick Quinn. So I got a couple years worth of that. And so I got that out and started syndicating it. And then I hired a copywriter to write 12 more issues. And I didn't have to pay a whole lot for this, but it was somebody who we'd connected through the platform. And ultimately, it worked out very well for both of us. There have been challenges that that I've solved in my copywriting life, in my words that sell life, that I want to help you solve. I want to help answer those questions, but I want to help you do it in a way that builds a business, not just another assignment. See, if the business of copywriting is just as important as your ability to write, but may even be more important. And as Dan Kennedy says, you're a marketer of your copywriting services, not an actual copywriter in the sense, because you can hire copywriters today. You can write a really good sales letter and then recycle that letter into lead generation pieces. We talk a little bit about the efficiency of writing. How do you produce more complete copywriting pieces and assignments from clients in a timely fashion, in a way that gives you a library of materials that you can draw from in the future? I think I've done a number of podcasts and programs and tutorials with clients about how to do research. That research, Gary Halbert says the research is the most important thing. Bob Bly says the research is the most important thing. Because once you understand the truths about a marketplace, You can very often find hooks and exciting new connections that not only make it easy to write new copy, but it also helps you connect with real buyers in a marketplace. I learned a bit of marketing metrics, and I learned how you can topic test. So I took some statistics classes, and you don't have to be a statistics genius in order to know in an A/B split what works best and what doesn't, but you do need to know what is statistically accurate, because A/B testing is really about the most probable outcomes. Which of these campaigns is most likely to generate profit or most likely to produce a customer? So in the Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips newsletter, we do cover a broader scope of copywriting elements. And frankly, because there are so many quality people out there to teach you actual copywriting. I'm looking at my shelf here. I've got Mailbox Millions from Dan Kennedy. I've got Write and Grow Rich from Bob Bly. I've got Direct Marketing Success and How I Made $100,000 in sales. There's an unlimited supply of how to write better copy. Now, we do cover that from time to time, just as a refresher. And there's hundreds of people that can teach you how to sell. I'm seeing Swim with the Sharks is a real good book on using writing to connect. I see The True Believers about the psychology of individuals and how they think and how they're influenced. There's a lot of materials out there that'll teach you how to sell and how to influence people. But there's a big gap, I believe, in the market, because while I was able to generate a lot of income selling copy, I generated even more income being a consultant or developing contracts for other people to service. I think there's a big opportunity for you if you understand the marketing of your business in the sense of how do we develop client base. So your core customers, your cash flow or milk cow customers, how do we develop consistent and reoccurring income in the agency or business model that you're using? How do we position you as an expert in the marketplace so you have maximum influence so that you can bring clients on board and then kind of bring the clients up level after level? That's something I learned as a consultant. Now, some consultants will camp out at their customer site, but other consultants provide complete packages rather than one-off solutions. And finally, the business of copywriting. How do you profitably run an operation that you have multiple editors, you have reviewers, you have an editorial calendar? How do you make that happen so that your copywriting business isn't just some freelance deal? You may never have more than 3 or 4 people in an office somewhere, but I get the feeling working with a lot of clients and working with a lot of subscribers that the copywriter, the marketer, or the business development professional that has an administrative assistant and has a bookkeeper and really has a couple people in the office that take care, or in a office somewhere, that take care of the administrative work and really lets them focus on the client interaction and lets them focus on the creative elements. I really feel that they are happy copywriters. I know there's the big dream that you could be a freelance copywriter sitting on a beach somewhere, and there are places pumping those types of people out. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's a good lifestyle. But the day you hire a virtual assistant to handle your calendar, to handle your scheduling, to handle the administrative and even some research work, is the day that you get more freedom. I know you feel free being a freelancer and traveling around the world or even just staying at your own home and just focusing on the writing. But that freedom really comes when you have a sustainable business where if you got sick or you did really need to take a break, God forbid you get COVID or something, that you could have the income continue. And it could be residual income from a newsletter that you've pre-written. It could come from information products. It could come from lead funnels that actually have revenue being produced while you focus on a couple key private clients. There's a number of models that work, and I like to bring those to you. So I've tried some of these models. I've benefited from some of these models. I've moved in and out of these models as businesses have changed or the economy has changed. But I've also worked with clients who have used these models in various ways. Now, for some of you, you want a big agency, you want 4 or 5 copywriters working for you, you want your own graphics person, that's fine. I've worked with a couple agencies agencies that have done that. It's worked out well. I've also worked with some individuals that are simply, they are the creative person. And periodically you bring in a copywriter or a couple people, freelancers that they hire. But primarily it's the main principal, and it's a secretary or an administrative assistant. That works out well for people as well. But ad briefings, again, ad briefings copywriting tips is about you developing not only the business that you desire, but a system around that copywriting business, around that deliverables, creating the deliverables, managing the projects, getting all that work taken care of, whether you do it yourself or you have an office manager that takes care of it, or you have an administrative assistant that takes care of it. I want to put you in control. I want to put you in control to have income on demand, to have residual and passive income, to be in a position where you're getting regular copywriting clients coming in, regular marketing clients, not just people that want you to write a press release here and there, or to write a sales letter or a brochure. I want you to have people who engage you as an expert you are, as the expert you are, and they want to engage you and they want you to help them really grow their business. Now, helping your clients grow their business opens the door to equity opportunities. It opens the door to new positions. In some cases, I've taken employment. I've worked as an employee because I have other specialty skills in risk management that actually let me do 50% of the time the risk management skills and 50% of the time the writing skills. And I feel that's a good balance for me. And for you, it could be something different. It could be your own business. It could be working for someone else. It could be an information marketing business. It could be a business where you're a consultant specialist that actually has the writing on the back end. There's all kinds of models. I also, the last point I want to make before we go is that I also want to be an open source to answer questions. I've had a number of mentors. Now, I've invested in mastermind programs. I've invested in other people's newsletters. I've invested in education. And I found that having people I can ask questions of has made a huge difference in my ability to leap forward with progress. So you might have questions about running a copywriting business. You might have questions or want a copy critique on a piece of work. You might have questions about an approach or how to structure part of your office. Well, I want to have an open door for you. If you go contact my office at www.adbriefings.co.uk, and if you send me a letter or you send me a fax that outline your question, what's the big challenge you're facing? How difficult has it been to find a solution? What would life be like if you had a solution? What would your ideal outcome look like? And if you'll send that over to me, I'll cover it in a podcast. I'll send you some materials back that might address it. And as a subscriber, as a loyal subscriber to the podcast or the newsletter or the membership side, I'll send that to you at no charge, because it's what I found with copywriting is that I can create the materials once and use it many times. I'll create a nice draft for you. I'll answer your question. I'll invest a little bit of time in you because there's so much potential in this market. I often have subscribers that I'll refer because they specialize in something that a client needs. And I'll often get asked to do things or help out with things because of the areas I specialize in. That's what's great about this market, is that we each bring something unique to the table. Now, I'd like to take my clients and my subscribers to the next level. That's you, by helping you develop an agency or develop a consultancy or develop some kind of real business that if something should happen and you're not able to come into work, you still got that passive income. You've still got opportunity coming in. You've still got choices in the marketplace so that you can charge more, so that you can bring on staff if you want to. It's really up to you. The sky's the limit. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, and this has really been about connecting you with the value that we have available here and kind of the mission of what we're doing. If you have any questions about this or anything we cover, please visit me at www.adbriefings.co.uk, where we help marketers, copywriters, and business development professionals in the business of copywriting as they develop an agency or they develop their six-figure and better opportunity. Thanks for listening.